Please welcome Senior Vice President of Georgia Bankers Association and Government Affairs Council Chair, Elizabeth Chandler.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to introduce Speaker David Ralston this morning. You are all familiar with him, no doubt, but I'm here to share a little more of his background with you. Speaker Ralston was elected in 2002 as the representative from House District 7, which includes Fannin and Gilmer counties and a portion of Dawson County. Prior to that, he served in the Georgia State Senate from 1992 to 1998. Speaker Ralston has earned many accolades and honors, including Georgian of the Year by Georgia Trend magazine, and most recently, a business champion in the current issue of the Georgia Chamber Profile magazine. He was elected the 73rd Speaker of the House by his colleagues in 2010 and has shown his steady hand of leadership ever since. He serves on the executive committee of both the National Speakers Conference and as vice chair of the Southern Legislative Conference. The state of Georgia is more than fortunate to have him in his position, and I know you want to give a warm welcome to the Speaker of the Georgia House of Representatives, the Honorable David Ralston.
Well, thank you very much, Elizabeth, for that very kind introduction. It's a great pleasure to be with you all this morning, and I want to thank the leadership of the Georgia Chamber of Commerce for inviting me to speak to you. It's always an honor for me to represent the great men and women of the Georgia House of Representatives in any discussion of issues, and I'm happy to do that today. You know, there's a reason that we all gather together as each session of the General Assembly gets underway. As good as the eggs are, the real reason I think that we're all here is that we care deeply about this state and its future. As members and friends of the Georgia Chamber, you want to ensure that Georgia remains the destination that businesses want to call home. We want businesses to be here because we want good jobs for our citizens. Good jobs allow people to support their families and empower their children to do better than they did. When you get to the bottom of it, what we seek is what every generation of Georgians before us has sought: a strong and prosperous state that offers the best quality of life for its citizens and is always busy striving for the next level of greatness. Transportation has long been a strength of this state. Atlanta has been our capital city for almost 150 years. But as we know, what we now call Atlanta began as terminus, literally the end of the line for the railroad. In fact, I would remind us this morning that it was the legislature, an act of the Georgia General Assembly in 1836, that brought the Western and Atlantic Railroad to a stopping point near what is today known as 5 Points. In the 21st century, and with a population of more than 10 million people, transportation continues to be a driving force behind Georgia's remarkable story. As Georgia has grown, leaders who had the vision and the courage to think beyond today and see what this state needs tomorrow made hard choices that gave rise to the world's busiest airport and one of the fastest growing container ports in the world. Their decisions have resulted in the vast transportation network that moves our state forward every day. In the beautiful mountains of North Georgia, where I call home, we know what a good road can mean to a community. When I was young, a drive from the mountains to visit in Atlanta was an all-day affair. I mean, from way early until way late. And the best we could have was 2-lane roads. Thankfully, now we can make that same trip in less than an hour and a half thanks to an artery known as Georgia Highway 515. The better part of that, though, is that it's only an hour and a half for people in Metro to come to our community and spend lots of money, which creates lots of jobs there. Highway 515 goes by another name. It's called the Zell Miller Mountain Parkway. How appropriate that a road that has transformed our mountain region be named for a giant of those mountains who worked hard on many fronts to leave this state better than he found it. That is what we must still do. In this session of the General Assembly, we must work together, both chambers and across the aisle, to find sensible and responsible solutions to our critical transportation infrastructure needs in Georgia. As you all have likely read, the report from the Joint Study Committee on Transportation paints a bleak picture of doing nothing to maintain and plan for our transportation future. The Joint Study Committee presented us with a list of recommended options. I'm not certain what the final package will look like. I am sure that we will embrace some options and reject others. But let me be clear on one point. Doing nothing is not an option. We cannot allow this state to lose its job-creating momentum and fall behind our neighboring states. And we cannot allow the safety of our citizens in our transportation system to be put at risk by inaction. We can and we must make progress to ensure that businesses continue to seek out our state. This focus on our jobs' future isn't just about transportation. We all know that it takes more than the ability to get from point A to point B to cultivate and maintain a pro-business environment. That is why we must also continue to strengthen and improve our education system here in Georgia. From preschool to college and every point in between, we have to offer more and better opportunities for our citizens to better themselves. A well-educated population translates into a ready workforce, and every business owner and manager can tell you what it means to have access to that kind of talent. We have added more funding to our public schools in past sessions, and it is my hope and intent that we will do so again this year. The recent recession took a toll on every function of state government, but now we're beginning to see a glimmer of light again, and we must ensure that we not only restore, but we grow the resources that we need for a public school system here in Georgia that is second to none. Beyond the public K through Beyond the public K through 12 schools, we must also have a robust system of technical colleges, state colleges, and universities. The governor's High Demand Career Initiative is a great example of how, when we focus on a critical need, we can get results with the resources offered by our technical colleges and our university system. Our colleges and universities have begun implementing creative solutions to keep quality higher education affordable, and I thank Chancellor Huckabee and our Board of Regents for their leadership on this issue. I want to close by saying that this is really a time of opportunity for us to work together to look at these issues with a long-term lens. We must be willing to trust one another to find solutions, as Georgians have done for generations, to ensure a better quality of life for our children and for our grandchildren. A fixation on the rhetoric of no won't get us to the next level of greatness in Georgia. Now is not the time. Now is not the time for naysaying. Now is the time for those who want to do something to come to the table and offer solutions. And I look forward to working with my colleagues in the General Assembly, with Governor Deal and with Lieutenant Governor Cagle, to make sure that Georgia's best days are still ahead. May God bless each of you, and may God continue to bless the great state of Georgia. Thank you.